Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie. For those of you joining me for the very first time, we are going to take a look at what the Oracle cards have to tell us about the energies for the week ahead. I hope that all of you had a wonderful week last week and a fantastic weekend. I certainly did. Mine has just ended and I am exhausted, but so happy with how it's been and so happy that Mercury, is it direct yet? It may be, but for a lot of you, by the time you're watching this, it will certainly be direct. And I am thrilled. I'm thrilled. This has been a rough one, so I'm so happy that it is finally moving. So just before we get started, to let you know, I did a phenomenal interview with Lisa Sonni about why women get trapped in domestic violence situations or how they get trapped in domestic violence situations, because unless you've lived through it, it's something that is very difficult to understand. And I thought that by having this conversation, it would shed some light for a lot of people and just give them an understanding that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have had. And we also talk about a lot of great books that people should read, either if they're in the situation, if they've come out of it, to understand how this all happens to us, and some pointers about what to do. Now, as for this week, this is a very exciting week because Anne's school on High Vibe is beginning tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It's going to be such a phenomenal class, so make sure you go and check that out. And then Gemini Rising, we don't have one episode this week. We have two. So we have Jasmine Safi, who is the creator of the Rainbow Oracle. I will be using that deck today. She's joining us on Wednesday, the 13th at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And then on Friday, the 15th, JK Ultra is joining us at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So what a perfect way to start the weekend. So like I said, it is a huge week. I will have links to things below so that it's easy for you to find. And let's get into the cards and see what they have to tell us about this week with Mercury moving direct. Hallelujah. Okay, I'm actually going to pull a couple of cards and then we'll... Okay. Okay. Interesting. So the first card out is teamwork, a partnership to complete a goal. Someone will come to your aid, expanding your network, delegating tasks. Then we have the woman card. A female friend enters your life, a female romantic interest. A woman will assist you. A woman plays a key role. So I feel like with this teamwork card, it's very likely that whoever's coming to your aid or whoever's stepping in, there's going to be a significant woman coming in with that. And then the sad news card came out. Disappointing message, not what you wanted to hear, something not going in your favor, inconvenient truth. So I know the sad news card isn't always the greatest, but I don't think it's huge catastrophic news. I think it's just maybe frustrations of things not going the way that you want them to. But what you need to remember is divine timing plays such a huge part in our lives that some don't happen because they're meant to happen later, or we're being protected from something. There's a reason why it's being held up. So don't get too caught up in that. As for the teamwork, we so frequently want to move through life, and hyper independence is real. I'm so guilty of this. I'm forever trying to do things on my own and thinking I don't need anyone. But there are moments where you need to ask for help. And this is one of those weeks. So make sure that if there is something that you need to finish or complete and you're unable to do that on your own, or you're struggling to reach that goal, make sure you reach out to someone, or maybe find someone to work with. And it may be someone you need to hire. It could be somebody stepping in and coming into your life that has the capabilities that are going to complement what you're doing. So just be open to that, and be open to delegating the things that you have going on, because often when we're hyper independent, we can also be quite controlling in how everything takes place. But sometimes we need to just release it and trust that somebody else has this so that we can move on to the other things. If you're a man or someone that likes to date women, maybe there is a romantic interest, somebody that comes in, whether it be a crush or someone that you look at seriously dating. But just pay attention to the women that are around this week. And like I said, with the sad news card, it doesn't need to be a bad thing. Just if something's not going your way, just trust the timing of it. If some truth comes out that isn't great, and remember, we do have Mercury moving direct. So if there is information that you don't necessarily like, just be grateful that you have it, because knowledge is power. If you have the information, you're then able to make an informed decision and do what's right for you. So sometimes we get hung up on what it is we think is going to happen or how it needs to happen, and that's not necessarily what is going to serve us best. Next card out is purpose, doing the soul work, looking for meaning in life, discovering your life purpose, going on a spiritual journey. So for weeks when we've been doing these readings, we've been getting these messages, like these dual messages about what is going on in the physical 3D world. And I feel like that's what those first three cards are. And then it's about the internal work that's going on. I've had a profound weekend energetically with the person I just spent time with, and it's been incredible. In the meantime, I've been doing a lot of body work and things like that, releasing trauma and stress from my own body, and it's amplifying. I know it's amplifying my energy. It's amplifying my ability to connect and all of that. And there are days where that work is difficult. There are days where I'm tired and I don't want to do it. And you have to continue. So just remember that doing that work is so important, and living this dual life is important, because we're all here on a spiritual journey and a spiritual mission. And that's great. And we have to do the work, and we can't quit, because if we do stop, if we do give up, it stops our own growth, and that's detrimental to us. But at the same time, we need to live in this 3D world. So we need to keep everything else going. Next card out is surviving, barely hanging on, living paycheck to paycheck. Burnout is knocking on your door. No savings, limited resources. And I feel like so many people have been feeling this in recent times. I know I go to the grocery store, and the money that I spend for one bag of groceries is insane. Often I leave with a bag and a half, and it's well over $100. I'm about to sound old. I remember when my mum used to do the weekly grocery shopping. She, for 4 daughters and herself, and we also had pets, she would spend $200. That was the grocery budget for the week. If I tried to do groceries here in LA for $200 a week, I would starve. I'd be skinny because I was starving. So just know that you're not alone. This whole burnout is knocking on your door. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And so maybe you need to find workarounds. Is there any way you can save money? I mean, we all sign up for so many streaming services, or what's the word? I'm really tired. Subscriptions. We sign up for so many subscriptions, and sometimes there are ones that we're not using anymore, and we forget that the money is even coming out of our account. So if this is how you're feeling, that you're barely hanging on in terms of financially, take a look at your expenditures and just see if there's anything that you can cut, which will make life that little bit easier for you. Playfulness, having more fun in life, not taking life too seriously, enjoying the little things in life, careful not to go overboard. So while it can all feel very heavy, you need to remember to find the joy in life, to find beauty in the small things. So I was just telling Anne before we started going live, I traveled to Nashville to meet a girlfriend. We live on opposite coasts. And so we always try and pick a different city to meet up in, a place where we are free of partners and children and all the different things so that we can just spend some time together. And, Nashville, there is so much to do. There's so much incredible music and all of that. We spent most of our time sitting in restaurants or places where there was food, and we just talked. And that was where we both took the most amount of joy. The great thing is in Nashville, most places that you eat, there is music playing. And I don't mean music coming through the speakers. I mean live music, incredible musicians, all of that. But when we left each other today, we were both so grateful for the incredible time that we had. And that's because it was finding joy in the little things. It was that moment of being together. It was that moment where we got to get takeout and go to our Airbnb and just sit together comfortably without any music playing, and just got to be together, and then go to our own separate rooms, have a good night's sleep, and then see each other in the morning when we woke up. So make sure that if these things are starting to get to you, that you find joy in those little things. You don't need to be spending money and going and doing these huge things to find the joy in anything. If this girl and I lived in the same city and we went camping, which is not my thing, I would still find joy in that because I love being in nature. I love being surrounded by trees and just the earth, like proper earth, not concrete, and animals and all of that, and my friend. So that's what you have to look for. And then the final card from the Ascending Life Oracle is abundance. Your arrival to abundance, financial blessings, rewards for your efforts, money flows easily into your life. So this is going to come down to gratitude and your mindset. I think that a lot of us have been here where we've felt like we're surviving. But when you are tapped in, when you are doing the work and you truly believe that money flows easily to you, it does begin to. And I spoke last week's reading about what shifts for me when I sit in a place of gratitude, and weird things like $100 bills in front of my car. All of that. So just know that things are shifting. If you've been having a hard time, you do need to sit in a place of gratitude and awareness in terms of what's around you, but it will, sorry. That sums up how awake I am at the moment, but it will flow. So just know that that is shifting. If you've been struggling, there are going to be rewards for what you've been working on. But again, what you've been working on, you're hitting a point where you need some outside assistance. So make sure you ask for that, request it, get it, however you need to. Okay, we are moving on to the Work Your Light Oracle, which is a Rebecca Campbell deck. First one out is yes. Just say yes. One of my favorite things in life, there are moments, especially if we've been having a hard time, where we say no to things and we say, well, because I know what I need. I know what I want. This is what I know. This is what I know. And there are moments where you just have to realize that you may think you know, but the universe stops giving you things when you are constantly saying no. And there needs to be a moment where you say, yes, I am doing this. Yes, I will say yes to the opportunities in front of me, and I will embrace them. So this is that moment where when things are showing up, you need to say yes, embrace them, and see what starts flowing in. And I feel like that yes is tied to the abundance card. Then we have Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? And again, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I was telling you last week, I think it was, that the people that are watching this show, I know, are light workers, and you have been told for the last several months that there needs to be a lot of work going on for you, for your own spiritual growth. But that work is for your spiritual growth. It is for your ascension. It is for your betterment, but it is also for you to lead the way and show others who are coming after you or whose awakening is happening a little bit later than yours. So whether you are paving the way for them to follow in your footsteps, or whether you are to be a beacon that they can look up to and come to for assistance and guidance as to how they get started, how they get moving, where they go to next when they hit a certain point. This is your time. You are literally being called to step up and do this. Okay. All right. And the last card from this deck, the Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. So this isn't just about the work you've been doing in this lifetime. It's everything that's already deeply encoded in your DNA, everything that is ingrained in you, the stuff that you don't even know about. And there will be things that will come to the surface that you don't know where it came from. And it's because when you're doing this work and you're unlocking things and new levels and all of that, this information is able to rise to the top. As a kid, I used to freak people out with the advice that I would give them that I had no idea what I was talking about. I was essentially channeling the things I would teach people that my mum would watch and go, how are you teaching them that? Because she knew I didn't know how to do it. And I would just say, well, they needed to learn and they asked me, so I showed them. All of this comes from somewhere else. So know that doing this work, you will unlock what's going on. So as I said, we've got Jasmine's Safi coming on Gemini Rising Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Super excited. I've just had 3 cards jump out from the Rainbow Oracle. So the first one, vibrational shift. You are shifting from your polarized world of duality to the freedom of heart unity. So again, all of that coding that exists in your DNA is ready to come to the surface, and this shift is happening whether you like it or not. And I would suggest that you embrace it and move down this path and essentially get on board, have a great time with it, because you know what? The freedom that comes with that growth, it's the most wonderful feeling, because all of a sudden these people and situations and scenarios that used to affect us so deeply and so heavily can't touch us anymore. So not only do you become a beacon for others, not only do you become a way shower, but your life and moving through this world becomes exponentially easier. Next card out is New Vision. Your view of the world is changing. Look beyond the illusions to see the most spectacular views. So again, like I said, there's a little bit in here this week about what's going on in this 3D world. The rest of this is about your spiritual growth. This is where you're meant to be focused. And the awakened masculine, self-responsibility buckles you firmly into the driver's seat of your own life's direction. This is one of my favorite lessons in this life. And I learned it many years ago when I worked with a psychotherapist named Ida. I have done an interview with her, and I've posted this clip many, many times, and or the link to that interview many, many times. Her work changed my life fundamentally. If I had to say there are 2 people that I've worked with that have changed my life, it would be Ida and then the work that I did with Christopher. And both of them have the same philosophy, which is we are responsible for everything in our own lives. And I remember the first time hearing that, being so deeply offended because of so much of the trauma that I had in my younger life. And when Ida first told me that, I told her to go F herself, and I walked out. I called her a week later because I knew I needed her. I needed her help, and I apologized. And she said to me, "Okay, can I explain what I meant?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I don't think that you went into those traumatic situations wanting those things to happen to you, but there was a part of you that felt that you weren't worth any more than that. And that's what we're working on so that we can break that cycle." And I went, "Okay." And doing the work on that part of it was so incredibly difficult. But it was the most freeing thing that I ever did. And it was freeing because I realized I was in control of my life. And I'm a big believer that we have fatalistic moments in this life. We have these moments where we have these interceptions with people that we're meant to meet. And I have certainly had these interceptions where these are people that are absolutely from previous incarnations. And what's interesting is we have crossed paths multiple times before we actually officially met. And it was once we'd met and these relationships were developing that we go back and compare notes and realize that we have crossed paths multiple times. And it shows that we were so fated to meet, but the timing wasn't correct in those first encounters. The girlfriend I was with this weekend, she was telling me about somebody in her life where the same thing occurred. They had these paths that were crossing multiple times, but they didn't meet until 6 years ago. So we have these fatalistic moments, but everything in between we are in control of. We get to decide if we want to live an existence in fear and a victim of everything that's going on around us, or we get to decide that we are actually in control of what's going on and that we are going to make the best choices for ourselves and our spiritual growth and move forward and beyond. So keep that in mind, because when you take control of everything that is going on, life absolutely changes. And it's so much better when you are in the driver's seat, because then you get to decide on the destination that you're going to. I hope this reading resonated with some of you, if not all of you. I appreciate you joining me for this reading. Please like, comment, share, engage, just to help get these messages out there a little bit. I don't advertise this on YouTube because I figure it'll find who it's meant to. And make sure you check out Anne's course that starts tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And hopefully you'll join us live for both of the Gemini risings with Jasmine Safi, who created this deck. I'm super excited to speak to Jasmine. And then JK Ultra will be talking about her book, Ken Not Included, on Friday night to kick off the weekend. Thank you so much, everyone. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Not every reading is for every person. And Anne, thank you so much.